stuff, still going. Whoa, what about that one? There's no way to stop him. He's straight through. We have just seen magic.
It's the Raiders and the Broncos on Fox Sports.
It's a massive game for both these clubs. The Raiders need to win to keep themselves in the finals race, and here's their lineup. Josh Dugan is their fullback, Campese, and now McCrone is the halves combination. Scott Logan comes into the side to take his place in the front row. The bench is Joel Thompson, Troy Thompson, Travis Waddell and Josh Miller. The coach is David Furner. There are a number of changes for the Brisbane Broncos. Josh Hoffman will go to the fullback role. Carmichael Hunt will play at halfback for Ben Hunt, who was out of the side. Tony Carroll makes his return from injury. He'll start in jumper 15. Their bench is Setu Glenn Sims and David Harler on debut. The coach is Ivan Henjak. Our referees tonight are Jason Robinson and Gerard Sutton. And it will be Corey Parker to get us underway. A little bit of a breeze here in Canberra, perhaps just behind the Broncos in the first half, helping them over their left shoulder as they look at things running towards the northern end of Canberra Stadium here tonight to get things going. Glenn Turner will play just outside the Raiders 20 from the captain, Alan Tunga, goes across to Scotty Logan, wearing 22 in the starting lineup tonight, an inclusion after proving himself fit to take his place here tonight. They'll play it through Nigel Plum. 10 on their own side of halfway. They run the ball here deep in the first set of 6. Monahan stepping off his right foot, but wrapped up by Steve Michaels with some help there from Tony Carroll and also Carmichael Hunt defending on this left edge. Campese kicking for the in-goal area. Picked up there by Dale Copley. And the youngster driven backwards in the tackle by Dane Tilse. A good first upset of 6 by the Raiders.
Oh, that's a cracking first set by the Raiders, and we know what they can do. We've spoken about their quick starts, and they're the sort of games that they just blow apart. If the Broncos are anywhere near off their game or just playing like they did over the last month, the Raiders will get them if they're ready to come and play.
Quinton playing the ball as it goes from Lockyer. Back on the inside there for Ben Teo. One of a number of signings in the forward pack, especially in recent times, who probably haven't aimed up as the Broncos would have liked over the past couple of big signing for them at the beginning of 2009, and well, he hasn't produced anything like the form we know he's capable of, as Lockyer almost slips over there. It's an absolutely pristine playing surface here in Canberra tonight, and wouldn't have thought he'd be slipping over. Perhaps a little bit of dew as we go from day to night here in Canberra. Croker it is to bring it back into Broncos territory. Good field position with some tackles up their sleeve in this second set of 6 with the ball in their hands. Turner will play it just inside the Broncos 40-metre line from Tongue. It goes to Campese at first receiver. Turning it back on the inside for Logan. A pass when he was almost tackled. Kept it alive there for Alan Tongue. It was grabbed just outside the 20. They'll play it here for Campese at dummy half. Tony Carroll caught behind the play on the ground from McCrone. It came away for Harrison. Picked off on a good tackle by Carmichael Hunt. McCrone on the last, looking for an option. He can't find one. Gives it off to Monahan. That was too easy. A play that was going absolutely nowhere on the last. And McCrone eventually came back to the right-hand side, gave it to Monahan, and he said, well, I can score.
With the indecision there from Josh McCrone, they had an opportunity, the Broncos, their short side defence, to get off their line, but they assumed it was going left. They didn't move up as far as they should have. No one knew who was going to get the ball for the Raiders. Josh McCrone just ambles down the short side. Steve Michaels still caught on his try line after assuming the ball was going to go wide, and Joel Monahan was going to be too hard to stop from there. McCrone was able to draw.
Campese's kick hits the upright. It might be one of those nights. It carried into the left-hand upright and went over for the flags to go in the air. Here it is again. But boy, Steve Michaels looking in field. showed a big gap to Joel Monahan on his left shoulder, and Monahan just strolled through it.
Well, there was no urgency there at all. Even Corey Parker, who made the tackle on Josh McCrone, really could have slid off Josh McCrone because McCrone was looking to pass all the time and give Steve Michaels a hand. But as I said, they assumed it was going long. They didn't move off their line, and McCrone caught them by accident.
Logan to play it for Tongue. To go to the left-hand side. Here's Campese getting involved. Plenty of touches at first receiver for Terry Campese in this opening 5 minutes as Tongue once again finds Tills. Picked off there and a good tackle right around the boots by Andrew McCulloch. From inside the 40, Campese not looking for a 40-20. He drives it down the middle of the park and showing good speed to make it a catch on the full was Josh Hoffman. Getting a chance at fullback tonight with Carmichael Hunt up in the halfback role. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how the young bloke handles the pressure. But what the Raiders do when they start well, they dominate possession, they control their sets, but then they make advantage. They take advantage of that possession and bang in a couple of quick tries. Here is Hunt, just tipping it on there for Corey Parker to work it up towards the halfway line. McCulloch going to Lockyer. Players inside and out. Hodges always a good option though. Well tackled by Jared Croker with some help from Phil Graham. Lockyer on the last with that heavy strapping around the left knee, kicking it away from Josh Dugan. Back there to help him out was Vito, who came across the field and was picked off by Tony Carroll. A good chase by the veteran. Croker, who like Josh Dugan is an absolute athlete and a real player to enjoy watching how he can move and how he can just work himself into space. Nigel Plum will play it just outside the Raiders 30-metre line for Tongue to go across to Logan. McCulloch once again around the legs with some help over the top from Darren Lockyer. Flat pass from Tongue to Tills. The simple stuff through the forwards to the last play in this set. Again, Campese with the kick. Taking over the kicking role full-time, it would seem, from Josh McCrone tonight, who gets a chance with Mark Herbert out of the side with injury. And they've done well. After taking the ball from their own goal line, they've got the Broncos pinned inside their own 20 here on play number 1. And Campese's finding the ground, whereas last week against the West Tigers, picked out the back three all afternoon. Campese's got a little bit of time up his sleeve. The forwards are setting a platform. He's finding the ground, and the Broncos have to work it out from their own end again. There is Tony Carroll running into Alan Tongue and also Bronson Harrison. McCulloch give it off to John Clinton. Take it up towards the halfway line. Got a bit of a facial there from Scotty Logan, which he wasn't too impressed with. Here's Hunt showing us those Aussie rules kicking skills. Found the turf at least, and Phil Graham it is. Defend away from Justin Hodges. He comes back towards Dale Copley as well, and they've got it just outside their own 20. 6-0 to the Raiders over the Broncos. The Raiders have done well to come up with a couple of good sets defensively to stop them from going back-to-back, because when they do, they get a real set, these Raiders. Here's Logan again looking to offload as he went to ground. This time he had to hang on to it, and then Alan Tongue ran into the back of him. Couldn't find Nigel Plum as a result. And Tills will play it back at the halfway line. Here is McCrone getting the first receiver this time. Harrison offloading, standing in the tackle. There wasn't too much defence there from the Broncos. There's even less as McCrone was almost able to get away from Steve Michaels. He'll play it for Monahan. On the last, Campese running at a retreating defensive line. Now he changes the angle, comes back, kicks for himself. He was stopped, but diving through was Josh Dugan. He thinks he's got some points.
Two possible obstructions, the onside and grounding.
We'll need to check it though.
Dave Taylor, well, he's offside a mile. Dave Taylor hasn't even come close to getting back onside. Joel Clinton there too, offside. Campese runs out of players, all his support play run past him on the right-hand side, comes back towards the post, grubbers it through. I thought the kick was going to be too big. He was stopped on his run. There's Dugan out to the left there. What is McCulloch doing? He's looking at the ball. They're looking at each other. Does Dugan get his hands on the ball first? It looks like it. It looks like it.
Well, he certainly won the race of the ball, didn't he? Diving through, beating Corey Parker. The put down is okay. first four-pointer. They don't pay for second try scorer, though.
I'm hoping after all your talk about Josh Dugan getting on the board tonight that you outweighed some. But Terry Campese, another good set from the Raiders on the back foot. Ran himself out of room, double back, looked like he was going to kick across field, and they had their hands up, but just put the little one through, and the lack of urgency there. McCulloch thought Parker had it. Parker was looking at McCulloch. They both could have cleaned it up quite easily, but Dugan runs past them both. Good work by Campese. Able to sum the situation up.
Oh, boy. It's taken a little while to come, but there it is. Josh Durkin, this prodigious talent, has his first try in the NRL. And Terry Campese has made it 12 points to nil. Scotty, they might be cold, these Canberra fans, but they'll love what they're seeing so far from their team here tonight.
They've looked messy down this end of the field, the Broncos.
There's a little tip-on play from Troy Thompson as the Raiders try and work it away from their own end. Didn't quite work out. Joel Monahan gets up limping. Boy, he's done that a few times in recent matches. Now Croker up against the sideline was able to keep the ball in play. Well, that was clever because there were 2 or 3 defenders trying to take him into row 14, and he flicked the ball back on the inside. The Raiders to hang on to it to try and get the kick away here on the last. Campese at dummy half. McCrone will kick it down towards the corner. Hoffman will have to play at it, and he'll be hemmed in there and dragged back towards his own goal line. Harrison had visions of taking him all the way back. He was going to give away a penalty had he done so. They're under enormous pressure here, these Brisbane Broncos, Scotty Sattler.
Yeah, they are. And Brandy, you mentioned the Broncos in regards to not being as organised. They're all over the shop at the moment. And I want to ask you the question, Brandy. Taking Carmichael Hunt from the number 1 up into the front line, does that take away from their attacking ability, also putting him in an organisational role? Because at the moment, they don't know what they're doing.
Well, I think it takes away from their ability to break the line because Carmichael Hunt is so good out the back. Darren Lockyer still should be steering them around the park and getting them into the position that they want. Here he is with a chip kick.
And it wasn't the best chip kick you've ever seen from Darren Lockyer either. Made it an easy catch for Campese, who links up here with Monahan. He's got some support there. There were some defenders, though, in front of him. And as a result, he takes the tackle. 30 out from the Broncos line. McCrone. He goes to Tongue. Thompson. Made a strong defensive line off the back of the legs of a Brisbane Bronco. It came back to Canberra through Josh Dugan, who won the race. He beat Ben Teo to the ball. Lucky to hang on to it right there.
Just a bit more desperate, the Raiders.
Miller playing it for Waddell, who's out there. The Raiders thought there was some high contact there. Back on the angle was Joel Thompson. His play on, though. He's Tongue giving it to McCrone. He held it up. Good pass from the halfback to Harrison. But we're going to check it.
Running the decoy.
Yep. Check the obstruction there, please.
Well, Bronson Harrison's the lead runner.
I can't get the information.
It must be the decoy on the inside, and here it is. Yeah, out the back, Troy Thompson to Josh McCrone. There's Josh Thompson, Troy Thompson, the decoy runner. Well, the Brisbane Broncos defenders bounced off him. He's covered to Josh McCrone. McCrone's done a great job to hold the ball up. I haven't got a problem with that.
Well,
you can stand out there
the Canberra Raiders will be holding their breath because they had a similar play denied last week against the Tigers. And when Troy Thompson puts himself in the defensive line right here, he runs the risk of the video referee, Chris Ward, saying, well, you put yourself in the line, you didn't go through the line, and you made contact with a defender who ran towards the gap that was suddenly there to offload. And I wouldn't be surprised if this comes up no try.
Oh, gee, I think it's a tough call if it comes up a no try. I thought Troy Thompson stopped on his run. Yes, made contact, but minimal. And the defender, the Brisbane Broncos defender, was able to slide off him immediately. I don't think he would have got there any quicker if Thompson didn't make any contact.
Well, the Raiders will be up in arms if it comes up with the red lights, because they made a point of refereeing and video calls during the week, and they get another one go against them right here. I think if you're the decoy man there, if you put yourself in the line, you run the risk of giving the video referee the chance to take the try off you. We saw it, that exact play last week for the Raiders against the Tigers, and again, well, I think they haven't learnt their lesson. Put it that way.
No, Troy Thompson either had to stop, obviously, stop before he got to the defensive line, or try and...
Well, so far, we're happy with that. He's had at least 2 cracks at both referees, and what he just accused me of in the end goal there is very close to a send-off offence. You keep him under control. I don't want to hear from him.
Boy, Justin Hodges, within an ace of being sent from the field for whatever he said to the referee, Jason Robinson.
Hold the line, boys.
Here's David Furner watching on.
He felt like me.
Well, I have no doubt he'll be on the phone to Robert Finch in the days after this game, the referee's boss, about the call. But really, it was very, very similar to a play they had denied last week against the Tigers. On that occasion.
Well, if you touch a defender, it is a no try then, because that contact was so minimal, it didn't affect the Brisbane Bronco defender. I know he was standing there, but Troy Thompson, he stopped on his run as much. That I know he made contact, but he wasn't going forward when the Brisbane Bronco player touched him. Anyway, let's move on.
The effect would have been exactly the same had he stepped off his right foot and gone on the inside shoulder of the defender straight through the hole. The effect would have been exactly the same. There would have been no dramas with it. But if you make contact with a defender and stop him coming from the inside to the out, you run the risk of having the try disallowed, which is exactly what we saw on that occasion. Now Lockyer taking it to the line, stepping straight through, going to Dugan, who wraps him up with a good tackle by the fullback. Now Hodges out of dummy half. Parker a short ball. Spinning his way towards the line was Bentio. Just a couple of metres away when he plays it here on play 5. Hodges back to Lockyer once again, taking them on again. This time he stopped in the front line there by Travis Waddell. McCulloch. He comes back to Carmichael Hunt. He'll chip it towards the corner, towards Winterstein. I tell you what, I hope those AFL bosses weren't watching that kick.
Yeah, it wasn't his best. One like that in front of Nathan Buckley might have changed things. Darren Lockyer, we said he had to become more dominant, running the ball. Got the Brisbane Broncos in a good position, but not a great finish to their set.
And the Raiders thinking they should have been at least 16 points to nil, perhaps even 18, had the Harrison try been awarded. They still lead by 12, though, with 8.5 remaining in this first half. Waddell getting out of dummy half and picking up some good metres against a defensive line which has had no speed about it at all tonight. Harrison, lovely pass. He was on the outside for a moment there of Michael, still standing in the tackle. Got it back to Monahan eventually. Now he kicks over the top. He wants a bounce and gets a bounce. Hoffman, though, wins the race to the ball and then ran into Josh Miller and did well to stay in the field of play. He took quite an impact, didn't he, from the bench forward for the Raiders. And he did well, Hoffman, to stay away from the in-goal area. Now Harler, another massive 19-year-old. Played his junior football with the Redcliffe Club. And like David Taylor, a former Australian schoolboy, they can produce a big forward, can't they?
Well, they can't. In his bio, it said 108 kilos. If he's 108, I'm 100.
Now Lockyer, as it goes from Hunt away to Corey Parker running on this left edge. Tackled there and tackled well by Harrison with some help from Thompson. Lockyer's kick from inside the 30. It'll pick out Phil Graham on the full. He'll bring it back to around about the 40-metre line. Again, they'll start this at a 6. In pretty good field position, the Raiders. Here's Croker out of dummy half. They've had a couple of chances, the Broncos, yet to find a way through them to record some points. Here is Dugan, one of the 2 try scorers for Canberra. Ashton Sims is on the field, making the place of Langi Setu, who himself came off the bench here tonight. Now Waddell, Miller charging at them, looking for a little gap in behind the play the ball. Oh, a pass here from Waddell was 3 metres forward, surely yes. Well, they can't let that one go after calling up Alan Tung's pass earlier on.
No, he had one of his teammates in front of him there, and he tried to pass the ball originally, then had to throw it over the top. Josh Miller.
To change over, boys.
There's Josh Miller taking the ball in and through the defensive line of the Broncos. It was a Brisbane Broncos player. Look, he just couldn't get a regulation pass off to Campese. He threw it over the top and it floated forward.
Up, Terry!
Here's Ashton Sims playing it for McCulloch to go from dummy half. He beats one and beats another. Thompson came again. Good meters for the hooker out of dummy half here to bring it all the way back to the halfway line for Hunt now.
And it's what they haven't done. They haven't turned the Canberra Raiders around. They haven't been punching holes in the Raiders' defensive line around the ruck like the Raiders have done to the Broncos. They're looking to spread it on early tackles. And I think that's where we're talking about the lack of organisation, the lack of any sort of structure out there.
Darren Lockyer giving it off to David Harler. We'll just bump it forward. About 25 out from the Raiders line when he plays it here. On the last, it come to Hunt again on this short side. A kick in behind them. A better one this time. Winterstein came up with it. He gave it off to Alex Glenn, who was desperate to get away from a tackle there of Vito, but he was able to wrap him up, the rookie winger, a couple of metres out from the line.
They've done a great job on a couple of occasions now. The outside backs of the Canberra Raiders, Josh Dugan just grabbing his head after that one. It was an awkward bounce for him. Winterstein getting to the ball first, but Vito on this side of the field, and also Jared Croker out on the left done a great job a couple of times to wrap the ball up in dangerous situations and close things down.
Another chance, another scoring chance wasted by the Brisbane Broncos. Scotty Sattler.
Yeah, you mentioned that player, Brandy, and Jared Croker, that little battle that's on that far side of the field. Whoever's tutored him up this week in regards to defending against the game's best centre, Justin Hodges, done a great job. Get up in his face, don't give him time to move. But also on another front for the Canberra Raiders is that Nigel Plum, very early in the game, limped off the field, lower leg injury. He definitely won't be back, so they'll be playing most of this game with 16.
There he is, back on the bench, Nigel Plum. One man short on the bench for the remainder of this game. The Raiders, I don't know, Terry Campese has the speed to be an AFL player, but he certainly has the boot. It was a massive clearing kick he put in right there, wasn't it? Yeah, out of the goal line of the Broncos to put them under pressure once again. 3 plays gone, still inside their own 20 to try and work it away for them. And they're kicking from deep inside their own territory here. A little shift though to the right as Hodges comes away from the sideline, stands in the tackle there of Travis Waddell, knocked on by Corey Parker. Hasn't been their night so far, and what hasn't been their second half of the season so far.
Well, Ivan Henjak knows how difficult, being a former Canberra Raider, it is to come down here and get a win. Hasn't been that hard this year because the Raiders have been terrible. But the Broncos, well, they've lost the last 2 times they've been down at Canberra Stadium, and the way things are going, it's looking like they're third.
Here's McCrone giving it to Monahan. Off the back of the scrum win for Canberra. Just over 3 minutes out from the break. Vito skipping. He jumps out of the dummy half. He's a live wire. He's got a couple of tries in 3 games now in the NRL. McCrone again at first receiver, turning it back on the inside for Thompson. He picked out the smaller Andrew McCulloch, and he bent him backwards until he got some help from Parker and also Sims. Harrison looking for the line. Going close once again, stopped only just there by Carmichael Hunt. Waddell, a pass for McCrone. He goes wider to Campese. He chips for the corner. He had Copley struggling. He did very well though. Dale Copley floating back with the flight of the ball was under all sorts of pressure, and he showed good speed to get a hand on it to spoil it for Graham and company, flashing through looking for the try.
Yeah, didn't he? Terry Campese leaving it till the last minute. Copley well in field, had to turn and chase hard. Caught the ball over his shoulder, which isn't an easy thing to do, particularly when you're under pressure. Phil Graham flying through. Another repeat set for the Raiders.
McCulloch with the dropout, taken by McCrone, barely 35 metres out, as shallow as they get these days by just about everybody else's standards. Troy Thompson. We'll play it here for Waddell. He showed it. It came up quickly. He got away there from Ashton Sims, who was looking for a shot on one of the forwards, and Waddell saw him coming. deciding to have a crack himself. Now Miller to Campese, another second man play. Dugan, lovely hands for Graham for the corner. He really wastes the chance.
Just the grounding, please.
They would just take a look at the put down here, and I think with good reason. There was a slight bobble as Graham went to put it down. There wasn't too much in it. Bit of contact there.
Bang.
It's
try.
okay.
It's good. Lovely play by the Raiders. Set piece. Couple of second man plays. Good ball by Dugan. It'll be a green light.
That it is. Denied last time around, but not this time. Graham, he only needs a half a metre to work in, and he can find the line.
Yeah, Copley had done well on the kick. This time caught in field. Didn't have the speed to get back and fix and get to Phil Graham there, who did a good job. Held his width and stayed deep enough for Dugan to actually catch the ball and be able to throw a good pass to him.
Add scoreline if you're a Brisbane Broncos fan watching this live on Fox Sports. Campese's strike is a good one, hooking a bit too much though. They'll wave it away, but they'll go to half-time with a commanding lead, won't they? 3 tries and a 16-0 scoreline. And the Brisbane Broncos, their season is sinking into the sunset. They are struggling and struggling badly, even with some of the stars of their lineup back in the side tonight. We will take a break and come back to look at the highlights, all those Canberra highlights from the first half in just a moment. More to come, plenty more to come, in fact, on Super Saturday. Here's the Brisbane Broncos to work it away from their own end. McCulloch. As to Corey Parker. He's given a terrible pass towards the back end of the first half, which led to a set of 6 and a try by Phil Graham to make it 16 points to 0 at the break. Teo works it down towards the halfway line from McCulloch to Lockyer again. Slips over. He can't have the right footing on. Second time we've seen him slip here tonight, and no other player, to my knowledge, slips in the Toyota Cup game. The first grade game here so far as Dugan brings it back. The kick will have him pinned inside his own 30-metre line as we go downstairs to Scotty Sattler.
Well, I'm here with injured second row Tom Leroy-Lars, and Tommy, encouraging first half for the guys.
Yeah, no, it's been the best half of football we've put together for a long time now, so it's pretty pleasing aspect was the defence and you know, the effort we put in.
You said the first half was revolved around the defence, but attack-wise, you're showing a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, that's sort of off the back of our, you know, our defence's sort of enthusiasm and obviously, you know, building pressure instead of trying to rush everything.
Here's some pressure. Tommy will come back to you in a moment. Broker went straight through them from their own end, and Phil Graham loves scoring tries against the Broncos. He scored 5 in his last 4 games against Brisbane, and the Raiders are off and running. 20 points to 0 with a lot more to come by the looks of that.
Yeah, second man plays, plenty of players in motion. The cutout pass to Croker. Darren Lockyer just didn't have the speed to go with Croker. Just a little right-hand fend, pushed Lockyer off, and then it was Phil Graham who was backing up on the inside. You want no other man to be doing that other than Phil Graham. That's 2 tries in the space of minutes. Of course, one just at the back end of the first half, and now Phil Graham opens up proceedings for the Raiders in the second half. They don't want to be here, the Broncos.
Campese gets the flags up. 3 minutes gone in the second half. They've already extended their lead. That'll make Tommy Leroy-Lars pretty happy, Scotty Sattler.
And that's what defence is about. It's about blokes wanting to put their bodies on the line, and Brisbane just aren't willing to do that. And all those little things that the Canberra Raiders have beaten them on tonight, well, that's what wins matches.
Here's Thompson going to the line, dumping it out the back for McCrone. A ball back on the inside, tapped on. It's still there for Canberra. Thompson flicks it back Dugan picks it up, almost away for his second try. Grabbed there just by McCulloch. Waddell gives it to Campese on the gallop. He stops. He fires an offload away for Dugan. Steps off his right foot, back into the traffic though. And he's stopped there by Alex Glenn and others. He'll play it right in front of the uprights. Campese again. Ball over the top. A chance for Phil Graham to grab a hat-trick. And there's number 3. Another ball over the top from Terry Campese, who knew where the spaces were after they tested them time and time again in the middle of the park. And boy, this could be an absolute hiding now.
Well, Terry Campese, a couple of decoy runners, they're all good. And then he knew there was space out there. Copley came infield a long way. The ball bounced, gave Copley a chance to get out and make a tackle on Graham. Hodges just threw his arm up. He was up and in.
And Campese again from out wide. Has struck them pretty well tonight, but as he did just before half-time on the first of Phil Graham's tries. And he hooks it away to the left-hand side. But Phil Graham has scored a hat-trick here in 9 minutes of actual game time.
Well, that's right. The back end of the first half, and he's opened up with the first 2 in the second 40 minutes. I'll take that back. Dave Furner is feeling a little better than Ivan Henjak. Ivan Henjak had a full head of hair at the start of the season.
Boy, the start of the season must seem like a long, long time ago for the Broncos coach. After 11 games, they had a record of 8-3. And he looked like an absolute genius, and the Broncos looked as though there was going to be no hiccup in the post-Wayne Bennett era. Well, boy, they haven't had a hiccup. They've coughed up lunch. Chance for the Raiders again. Harrison. Monahan! Now he's striding out, running towards Hoffman. He wanted somebody back on the inside. Harrison was there. He just didn't have the speed to match it with Monahan. Here they go. A big back line set to the left-hand side. Campese puts a kick in. Oh, Graham! He wanted to bounce for try number 4.
Gee whiz, Jared Croker was there too. Darren Lockyer, he'd been beaten by pace from the 2 Canberra players. Drop ball, chance for the Raiders.
Harrison, quick pass, tongue over the top. It comes away for Monahan. He gets his second of the night. And it is a green avalanche of points. 3 tries in the opening 9.5 minutes since we...
Well, they haven't made the semis. They've made the semis, sorry. And here's the drop ball first. They have made the semis every year since 1991. And on this sort of form, it'll be semi-final miss number 4 for the club in their whole existence as a franchise. That's too easy.
With still half an hour remaining. And it could be 32 points to 0 if Terry Campese can kick this. Can he kick it? Yes, he can. Marked by passes in and around the halves, trying to link up with each other and get something going. He needed a forward to put his hand up and say, I'll take it forward, do the hard yards for you, and try and pick up 10 metres or more if I can.
How many sets in all the sets the Broncos have had the ball have we seen Taylor, Clinton, Carroll and Teo just push off the back fence and tear into the Raiders defence? We haven't seen it all night.
Hasn't happened. Here's Logan. He can push off the back fence and come at them. Nothing going early on. It's a good start for both he and the Raiders, and they have gone on with the job. Alan Tongue will play it here at the Broncos 40-metre line. Still more than a quarter of the game remaining. Logan. Raiders fans, certainly David Furner, will be hoping they don't put the whip away here. They can go on with the job and rack up a big scoreline. Waddell to Tongue. Here's McCrone linking up with Harrison. Monahan will just reef it into the air. A kick with not much spin on it. Going up, he comes down with his own kick. There was a chance of getting to the line as well before a hand got in there and just knocked it away from him.
They're all liking their chances, aren't they? They all want to get across the stripe. Quick shift to the right there. Players expecting a kick, so they're flat. Monahan put one up, and there's Dave Taylor. That's his best charge of the night.
Scotty Sattler, you're not too far away from the Brisbane Broncos bench. It must be morgue-like down there.
Yeah, it is. They've got Joel Clinton, who won't return with a lower leg injury. You've got Steve Michael that's been brought off the field, and Alex Glenn filling his position. So at the moment, there's not a lot of enthusiasm at all amongst the side whatsoever. I just want to talk about Josh Dugan, the number 1 from the Canberra Raiders, the man on screen. The courage of this kid. He returned ahead of schedule versus the Panthers 2 weeks ago. What we thought was going to be a serious injury, and was the best in the beaten field. Was best in the beaten side. You look at him, he looks like he needs a feed, but he must have great strength because he gets through the first tackle. And he's a list of all these young players from their Toyota Cup side that need to be 10-year players for these Raiders.
He could be a 10-year player and then some. Josh Dugan, what a talent he is. Lockyer. Like a little run down the right-hand side through his own efforts, chipping it towards the in goal, but Vito got back there with plenty of urgency, the sort of urgency that's been missing in the Broncos game here tonight. He did well to bring it back away from the in-goal area. And Dugan will play at 15 out from his own line. Glenn Turner is back out there and gets an offload away as well for Waddell, who immediately changes the point of the attack from Campese to Graham, who steps in away from Copley. He took enough of him to take him to ground, 10 on his own side of halfway. Here is Croker floating to the line. Oh, they just dropped off him and he went straight past them. Hoffman makes a good tackle. They give away a penalty. And boy, it could have been a professional foul, and 10 in the bin as well. Campese taps and it goes quickly. Here's Harrison giving it away. Going for the line was Daniel Vito. He'll make it as well. And the points just keep coming for Canberra.
This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing for the Broncos, who's 7 weeks into the competition. They'd won 6. They were competition favourites, says Jared Croker. The hands out. Ben Teo just putting a hand on his shoulder. Tackle made by Hoffman. Quick play the ball. Quick tap, off the back of the penalty. Long pass out to Bronson Harrison to catch and draw. And then Daniel Vito in between the final 2 Broncos defenders. Winterstein, Carmichael Hunter crossing cover, but Vito too strong.
Campese. Another good strike, another 2 points for Canberra. Brisbane Broncos have had just 23.
They haven't had the ball at all, really, in this second half. They certainly haven't been down this end of the field.
Now Campese is looking for 40-20. Said he had a bit of a bounce on that one. He might have kicked on towards the sideline, but it's set up for Josh Hoffman, who was set upon by a number of Raiders chasing. And boy, they've got plenty of energy on that right-hand side of the field tonight, haven't they? Harrison and Monahan have been a real handful from the opening whistle.
Well, they have right across the field. You know, you look at Croker and Campese out here. They've all caused trouble. Phil Graham's crossed for 3 tries. They've all put their hand up.
Here's Taylor. He'll be a Rabbitoh in 2010. What they make of his form in recent times. He did fire up a couple of weeks ago. But boy, he can mix his form, David Taylor, and that will be the job of Gordon Tallis and Jason Taylor at the Rabbitohs, the forwards coach and of course the head coach, to try and find some consistency in the game of David Taylor, because, well, he's bigger than Texas. What a frame he's got. When he hits the line, he can be unstoppable. But the difference between his good games and his bad games is much too much at the moment. It's a chance here to see what they can do in this set of 6, perhaps, as they take it forward through Teo. An offload off the chest there of Andrew McCulloch, who was looking to his left-hand side thinking the tackle had been completed. Well, he's entitled to do more than that. He should get up and punch a hole in the wall.
Well, just about.
Headbutt the wall. Do something.
But again, the assumption that the play's dead, no one looking up and just playing what's in front of them. McCulloch looking to see what's on next. And I suppose he had to ask, because no one's talking out there.
And here's another penalty going the way of the Raiders. I mean, trying to put this in context at the moment. It's hard to put this in context, but this might be one of the worst Brisbane Broncos performances in their history.
Well, I know they've had bigger, they've had more points scored against them than what we're sitting at now. We've still got 15 to go, so we might have a couple of more Canberra tries. But for effort, I haven't seen a side turn it up like this I can't remember when. I can't remember when a side just didn't try like this Brisbane Broncos side are doing here tonight.
The last time they failed to score a point in a game was round 26 of 2007 when Melbourne beat them 40 points to 0. We're in that territory quite obviously now as Croker floats towards the in-goal area, gives it back to Phil Graham, who gets number 4. A beautiful piece of Canberra play once again. Croker on the angle going towards the corner post. Graham cut infield at the exact precise moment he had to, and there was nobody at home to stop him. He had them struggling. Good fend to hold off Hodges from Croker, and then that man, well, he can't believe his luck tonight. He could finish with 6.
Well, he could. Another one of the under-20 graduates, Jared Croker, just holding him off long enough. Yes, just touchy. What a great job by the touch judge. Inches in it.
And now Terry Campese to make it 44 points to 0. Canberra's biggest ever win against the Broncos was all the way back in 1990 when they beat them by 28. They've eclipsed that and then some tonight. This will be their biggest ever win unless the Broncos can do something in a hurry, but there is absolute... I'd give you 1,000 to 1 about them scoring a point at the moment, the Broncos.
Yeah, if TAB Sportsbet were offering odds even for a Canberra try, I'd like to take it. They are a shell of a team, this Broncos outfit. I wondered if they saw this sort of performance coming. You know, I spoke to Darren Lockyer before the game about whether this group of players, and he's been in and around a Broncos side for a long time now. They've made the semi-finals every year he's been involved with the Broncos, whether there was a feeling within this group of players that they were going to make a run towards the semi-finals and play end of season footy again. It doesn't look like it, does it? You know, I know they've still got 5 games to go and there's still 10 points on offer after tonight's game, but who's to say they come up with any?
Not on this evidence, that's for sure. Campese going to the right hand. Defender away. Puts a kick in. McCrone just wants a bounce. It bounces away from him and beats everybody. Oh, if he'd only taken it on the full, and I think he had a chance to take it on the full.
Well, I don't know. It was crossing his mind, and I was thinking the same thing. I was putting myself in Josh McCrone. Would you go for the ball? I don't know if he would have gotten there.
No, he probably wouldn't have.
I don't know. I think he did the right thing by allowing it to bounce, but just didn't get the bounce. Vito only 6 inches really away from scoring another try. Let's go back to the couple of tries that Canberra should have scored in the first half too. One, a try where Terry Campese loses the ball over the line. The other, a dubious obstruction call. Could be anything.
It could be 50 right now had they had video referee Chris Ward flash up the green lights and not the red lights on that one. Here's Lockyer turning it back on the inside for Corey Parker. Teo gives it off to Dale Copley. That's my 1,000-to-1 looking. Jared Croker saves the try. Copley was going to dart into the corner there. Minimum bet $100, by the way, Brent, if you want to get set with me. Here's Hodges going over the sideline. They won't score tonight. They will not score here tonight. And they're in danger of suffering their biggest ever loss. They got beaten 68-22, the Broncos, in round 25 of 2007, of course, an afternoon in which Jared Hayne did magical things for the Eels at Parramatta Stadium. Now here we are at 44 points to 0. Waddell out of dummy half. Do you want to have 100 at 1,000? Scotty.
Easy, Dave, up easy.
Here's Glenn Turner taken the ground and a tackle by David Taylor. Ended up flat on his back. He was slammed to the ground, wasn't he?
Dangerous position from the court.
Yep. Stay in it.
Well, it wasn't a good one.
Finish your set. Do your set.
And Dave Taylor all over the top, you wouldn't help either.
Got your curves.
Back into Brisbane's half of the footy field.
Exactly. Here come the Raiders again. Scotty, settle down your end of the field.
Well, the last time we saw the Raiders in a mood like this, they put 70 versus the Panthers last year. Now, they're not going to put 70 here tonight, but they're one of the real good teams to watch, aren't they, NRL, when they are in a mood like this. But as a skipper for the Brisbane Broncos, what do you say to your players in this situation? It's just a mystery.
I think you say, boys, you have to decide whether you want to go to Homebush in September or Hawaii. And at the moment, it's looking very much like Waikiki. Monahan dumping it back on the inside for Vito. He'll play it about 8 metres out from the Broncos line. Monahan comes back to McCrone. Now Tells looking for an offload. Miller was there, but he just couldn't get it to him. Waddell on the last play will go to Campese. Grubbering once again. Turner's chasing through. So is Jared Croker. He has been brilliant all night.
Onside and through to grounding.
We will just check the onside, and the grounding says Jared Sutton, but I think it looks all okay. Yeah, and this could be the half century.
Yeah, hard to tell from behind. He's confident, Jared Croker. Nice little kick from Campese. A couple of short ones this side of the field have been cleaned up by Hodges. Hodges was brought up. The fact that Campese rang right to the line. There's Croker flashing. No worries, just smothered the ball. Rounded it. Kick to get us to 50.
He's been terrific, Jared Croker, especially in the second half. He's opened them up a number of times. There's the green lights. And you'd imagine Terry Campese will make it a half century. And that poor Brisbane fan has been copping it all night down there, no doubt. Well, there's a bit of love in the room.
Croker just beating Copley to the ball. There was Raiders everywhere. Well done, Campese. Look who's outside. That brought the Brisbane defence up. It's a training run. That's all it is for the Raiders this second half.
Boy. Phil Graham was within an ace there of matching Mal Meninga's try-scoring record, which stands at 5 in the single game for the Raiders. Still almost 8 minutes left. Campese's kick makes it 50. It's a half century up for the Raiders over the Broncos. It is the mother of all hidings here in Canberra tonight. And it's not the biggest Raiders crowd you've ever seen here at Canberra Stadium, but boy, those who've turned up in very cold conditions have been true to something, haven't they? 50 points. You can see the Canberra Raiders winning here tonight. You can see the Broncos winning also with so many stars back in their lineup. But boy, you couldn't see 50 points to nil.
No, you couldn't see that. I'm as speechless as some of those Broncos players. I've got that stony face on too. I'm in shock because the Raiders haven't banged on one like this for quite some time. And with their season all but gone, I didn't think it'd be tonight where they'd do it. All ball and all tackle there by Lockyer on Croker, who still offloads the ball. Turner.
Here he is back on the inside for Croker. All went to ground, picked up there by Dugan. And it will be a rare Canberra mistake in this second half. They have barely coughed up a ball. And they've got the scent, haven't they? Well, they've been a bit unlucky there.
There was a hand from Darren Lockyer that knocked it out, but you can't. That's on replay that we've seen that live. The referee,
Down, pull them together, Josh.
I think, would have thought Croker's dropped the ball.
And here come the Broncos, looking to get off their duck. Glenn will play it. He comes to Hunt. He gives it off to Corey Parker. You know, you can't leave this game with the way it is at 50 points to nil and not mention the Carmichael Hunt announcement during the week that he was leaving to go to AFL. Of course, it was an absolute circus up there in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast for a couple of days. And Tony Carroll made mention of it in the lead up to this game in the last 24 to 48 hours, saying we have to turn up with our heads on. We can't let all the talk, all the Aussie rules chat affect us. I don't know what part it's played, but they have just not been on the same planet as the Raiders here tonight. Now Hunt looking for a handball, little chip to the forward pocket perhaps.
They've turned up here. I don't know with what sort of attitude, but the Canberra side have turned one on. They've got their start going, and really it's been all the Raiders since the kickoff, the opening set, punching holes in the Brisbane defence.
And that was the last. That was the last play. Have you ever seen Justin Hodges outplayed the way he's been outplayed tonight by Jared Croker?
They look clueless out there. Apart from not having a go in the first half, where the game was type of in the balance, and we're 20 minutes in, they were down 12-0. But their attack, they went from side to side. No one ran forward. Everyone looked at the next bloke, the bloke next to them, to see if he wanted to run the ball. It has been one of the worst performances from a first-grade team I've seen.
So to get their finals campaign back on track, and it would seem a long shot at the moment, they need a transfusion. Here is McCrone chipping for himself. He gets a bounce this time. And he does a Superman through the air as well. Josh McCrone and the Raiders flying high in Canberra. It makes it 54 points to 0. They can do no wrong.
No, they've been outstanding. I wonder if I'm being too critical of the Broncos and not giving enough praise to the Canberra Raiders, who have been outstanding.
But
there's a big but. It's
like the world records at the Swimming World Championships at the moment. There's an asterisk, isn't there? Given it's 54 points to 0. Well, Ivan Henjak, he should head just straight for the bus. Jump on the bus, get a taxi, in fact.
Go to the airport and fly home.
Surely there'd be a flight out.
I think they'd make a special flight for Ivan. I think they'd feel that sorry for him.
Campese from in front. He's racking up a healthy tally himself off the back of all these conversions tonight. 56 points to 0 it is. There's time for 60.
Well, 40 points in the second half.
If you're wondering what Ivan Henjak says when he perhaps goes back to the sheds at full time, what do you say if you're David Furner? By the same token, do you say, boys, that was terrific, but where has that been?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's why I said into the first half, I said, well, Furner might be just as disappointed as Ivan Henjak at this stage, because they've thrown their season away over the last few weeks. 28 points, if they win all the remaining 5 games, well, 28 mightn't even be enough to get there.
No, it may not. Here is Campese going to McCrone. Here's Josh Dugan chiming in. With Monahan and Vito on his outside there, keen. They'd love one more chance here to really rub the Broncos' noses in it, to make it 60. 56 to duck egg. Campese standing, looking like the player he was at the back end of the season last year suddenly again. That time he didn't. Little ball on the ground for Lockyer to pick it up. And the Broncos will get one final crack at them to get themselves off 0. They'll play it here. Harler it was. They go to the left-hand side. They're in absolute slow motion. It's like they're playing in treacle. Here's Hodges to Hunt. The ball back on the inside here for Corey Parker, who comes to give it away to Lockyer. Racing up, making another tackle, as he's done all night when he's been required to. Jared Croker getting off his line and shutting them down on that right edge of the Broncos' attack. They'll give away a penalty. That will ensure the Broncos will finish with the ball in their hands if they don't make an error before then. Corey Parker taking it forward, just saying, please tackle me, end the pain. McCulloch waits a dummy half. He goes back to Lockyer. The ball back on the inside. They're a metre away. And that's where they'll play it. Charging at the line, looking to duck under them was David Harler in his first game in the NRL. Went with an ace of scoring his first ever try. Hunt, second man play. Hodges, they go through the hands to the line. Alex Glenn, Winterstein back on the inside. Harrison wants to make sure they keep a clean sheet. And he will ensure that. 2 seconds on the clock with time blown off by Gerard Sutton. What a tackle by Bronson Harrison.
And that says it all, doesn't it? The desperation. The Raiders leading 56-0, and they are still able to get across there in numbers and hold the Broncos up. They did it in the first half. They've done it in the second half. Completely out-enthused here tonight.
Lockyer, as the siren sounds, they come to the right-hand side. That will do it. The Raiders have shut the Broncos out. They've been beaten by the biggest margin in the club's proud history. 56 points to nil.